so much. Yeah, we're going to open this forum in Paris 2022. In fact, it's a 26th forum of our history, and it's a very special one. I'm going to step down on the tribune late this afternoon. I would like first to thank all our members present here face to face, but as well on Zoom and as well with WTN. Welcome all the members and partners of Amfort who are watching us from WTN from all over the world. Apparently, Jürgen Steinmetz, who is organizing this WTN broadcast, told me that we should be around 1,000 people around the world watching us live, and that will be as well in replay during the next days. Thank you as well to Villa M. Where is the manager? No, he's around, the manager, general manager Villa M. And thank you to him for his excellent premises and techniques. Thank you as well to Colonna. Colonna is a new member of Amfort, and Colonna, as you know, is a really very important and very efficient service for all the teachers, lecturers, and the students of all our organizations. Thank you as well to La Sorbonne University, because today is La Sorbonne Day during our forum, and Sébastien Jacot, director, professor of La Sorbonne and director of IREST, he will tell us a few words about that. And thank you as well the EFMH, which is as well a school in Paris, a new school in Paris, who is helping us for this forum. I would like as well to thank so much all my team of Amfort, especially Xavier Faure, who is doing the kind of a stage manager for all this day, as well as Gary, who is behind the curtain there, in charge of the technique of this day. We are going, so as you see, we are not so many altogether. Sometimes in Amfort Forum, we are up to 200 people altogether, but that was before. Now it's after, especially after COVID and after the prices who have been up in all the hotels and travels, and it's quite expensive now to come from one place to another. So this is a new way of the new generation, and now we've got to cope with new techniques. So this is why we are at the same time face-to-face, but as well on Zoom and on WTN. Obviously, what we were talking yesterday night, it's so much more fun to be together instead of to be on Zoom. But I hope that next years we will be able again to meet together, all together, face to face. As far as the timing of the day is concerned, we will have 2 sessions now this morning, up to 12. And then we will have lunch together, and after lunch we will have the 3rd session of this forum, then a pause, a coffee break, and then the General Assembly up to 5:30, maybe 6 o'clock this afternoon, if that's fine with you. As I said, this forum is a very special one, because that General Assembly this afternoon will have the election of half of the board, because in our statutes we change every 2 years half of the board, and then the new board and the General Assembly will vote for the new president and his team. So if you accept, and I will repeat this this afternoon, but if you accept this afternoon at that's at 3 o'clock. Yeah, 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. France time. We will meet and we will have to vote. So I suggest that we vote with hand. If there is any constraints for anyone, we can change this. But thank you to accept this. Anyway, we have only one. Up to now, up to this hour, we have got only one candidate for the presidency of Amfort today. And we started this forum already 2 days ago, and we started with a get-together party on the first evening, and this is one of the most important moments during the AMFET forum. Why? Because it's a friendly association, and it's non-commercial, it's non-lucrative. We are free. I'm completely free. I'm not paid at all for what I do, and same about the executive board and the board. So it's a question of friendship and of humanism, and to help people and to help up together. So so this is why it's always a very important moment, the get-together party, which is initiating the forum in our tradition. And yesterday we had a full day at Equipe Hotel. We've been received by VIPs by Equipe Hotel and by the general director and Beatrice Gravier, and I thank Beatrice Gravier officially here for welcome. And that was very smart from her because obviously she's so busy. And then we had the first academic session yesterday, which was chaired by Abdou Belgat and Oliver Steuermann, and it was about the stakes of international issues of hospitality and tourism in the world. And today, so we will have 2 academic sessions as well. So the thing I would like to tell you about this forum, and as I hope a little bit inspiring the whole day and the debate we will have together, is about we have to adapt, and this is the main topic. This is the title of this forum. We have got to adapt ourselves to all the changes in the world. Obviously, I'm talking about climate warming. Obviously, I'm talking about loss of biodiversity. Obviously, I'm talking about geopolitics. And obviously, I'm talking about teaching and education in our trade, hospitality, and tourism. All right, we will have to talk about as well technologies. This is why after the first speeches, and this is the opening ceremony, I will give the floor to Professor Dr. Francesco Frangialli, and to animate the session. And then this afternoon we'll talk, and with Francesco, we will talk about geopolitics, and this afternoon we'll talk about technologies. Just one thing I would like to say about the adaptation of education and training methodologies is about what I think two points is about sometimes in our curriculum we need perhaps to put a little bit of change and to adapt. This is the main topic, to adapt to the new generation. So I would think that sometimes in the curricula, we need perhaps to add a few new topics, or perhaps as well method of learning. And there's two words I would like to ask you to think about during this day is, what about service in our curricula? Do we talk sufficiently about service? In 1 minute, all right. I know that all of you, all of us, and all the people looking at us and participating to this forum, we know how to make lessons and training and education in accountancy, right? In laws, in regulation, and so on and so on. Yeah, but what about service? And the other topic is about responsibility. Do we talk enough about responsibilities of the new generation and the students today and the new people in charge of our trade? I'm just wondering if that is enough. So I hope these 2 words and these 2 topics will be in mind of all of you during the day. I would like perhaps one thing is about during this day, thank you to all of us to have always time for debate and questions for the public, not only from you face to face, but as well from people in Zoom. And Xavier is managing the chat, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
He is. And obviously people from WTN can't be in direct contact, but from but we are on broadcast, live stream, yes, on WTN. But don't hesitate on Zoom to ask if you want to have questions, to ask to you hand over your hand, or you just ask Xavier on the chat, and you will have the microphone, right? So I would like now, please, Xavier. We have obviously, as we generally do during our forum, we invited our Minister of Tourism. Olivia Grégoire couldn't be with us, but we sent as well an invitation to Palais de l'Élysée, and from Palais de l'Élysée, we have the honor to welcome by a video Guillaume Gomez. Guillaume Gomez is the personal ambassador to the President of the French Republic, specialized in the gastronomy and culinary arts and the patrimony of culinary art of France. So, Guillaume Gomez.
Bonjour à tous, Guillaume Gomez. Écoutez, je voulais, à l'occasion de votre congrès international qui se déroule pendant le salon Equipotel, vous adresser un petit message. Je ne sais pas si malheureusement je serai en France et si je pourrais me joindre à vos travaux et venir participer à vos échanges. Mais voilà, juste déjà vous saluer, vous souhaiter la bienvenue en France, à Paris. Vous dire que c'est une fierté pour le représentant que je suis du président pour la gastronomie de savoir qu'une ONG comme la vôtre, reconnue par les Nations Unies, œuvre depuis plus de 50 ans à la formation de nos jeunes, de nos apprenants dans nos métiers du tourisme et de l'hôtellerie. Félicitez bien sûr votre président Philippe François. Vous félicitez toutes et tous parce que c'est votre travail qui fait avancer les choses et c'est votre travail qui fera l'avenir de notre profession, de nos professions. Donc voilà, je vous dis à très vite, peut-être pendant Equipotel et sinon à bientôt. Au revoir.
Thank you so much, Guillaume, for your friendship, and you are very close, always very close to Amphon. Thank you so much. So now I would like to give the microphone to Professor Sébastien Jacot, Director of IREST, and then we'll give the microphone to a young alumni of IREST, Anne Robinet. But please, Professor Jacot, please.
Merci. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président, Monsieur le Vice-président de l'AMFOR et donc vous tous et toutes participants, collègues, membres, donc de me permettre de présenter l'IREST. Je vais parler en anglais, mais je tenais quand même à vous saluer d'abord en français. Ce sont les deux langues de nos enseignements. So it's my great pleasure and honor to welcome you today in Villa M in Paris for this important conference and forum. We would have liked to host you today in Sorbonne, but in this specific day commemorating the end of the First World War, it was not possible to obtain the opening of the building. We really tried for months, but no way, it was not possible. So we are hosted in a wonderful place, nevertheless, that is representative of the transformations of hospitality in our city, and we are very proud to be there. I represent my university, Paris 1, Panthéon-Sorbonne, and IREST. IREST, Institute of Research and Higher Studies in Tourism, Institut de recherche et d'études supérieures en tourisme, is a multidisciplinary university institute dedicated to tourism within the University of Paris 1. Paris 1 Panthéon-Sorbonne, Paris 1 Panthéon-Sorbonne, was created in 1971 after the events of May 68 and the division of the University of Paris in several universities, Paris 1, Paris 4, etc., surely to control, in a way, student politicization. IREST, from his side, was created in 1961, more than 60 years ago, and is maybe, we haven't found for the moment an oldest institute, so maybe is the oldest university institute dedicated to tourism in France, this is sure, and maybe in the world. To be the oldest doesn't mean, of course, that we don't transform our ways of teaching, defining professional education in line with the transformations of tourism and hospitality. It has been said just before that we have, of course, to change our ways of teaching and to integrate new contents. So the institutes, to say some words about it, offers a wide range of diplomas and academic curriculum programs in professional bachelor's and master's degrees. We prepare our students in the fields of tourism planning, cultural heritage and tourism, hospitality management, international tourism, e-tourism, fashion communication, sustainable tourism. Donc ce sont les intitulés de nos diplômes. Our programs are taught in Paris, but also abroad. In the past, until 2 years ago, in Fez, Morocco, in the Seychelles Islands, and this academic year in Switzerland, Greece, and normally we are opening a new degree in Egypt. We welcome a diversity of students from France, but also from abroad, and teach in French and English. The courses combine theoretical, specialized, and professional teaching, workshops, research training through a thesis, and professionalization through internship or apprenticeships. This is key for us. We consider that our educational goals are achieved by mixing pedagogical methods. That is why our pedagogical team is made of researchers in geography, anthropology, economics, marketing, management. Jean-Michel Chapuis is with us. Law, but also of professionals of high level in tourism planning, cultural heritage valorization, hospitality, and international tourism. So we have around 400 students each year who dedicate to tourism and hospitality mainly. We also have a scientific research center, EIREST, with PhD students in geography and management sciences. So I was supposed to say some words about the main issues that you are facing nowadays. Je ne vais pas être trop long, juste dire quelques-uns des axes de réflexion que nous avons à présent, et de façon très générale, les débats seront l'occasion d'approfondir ces différentes choses. So, from our perspective, we are facing new challenges in relation to professional education. They are plural, depending on changing environment, but also, and this is very key, because we know that we have to make more efforts in order to attract students. So new aspirations from the students themselves. So first, we feel that we have new responsibilities. So this week is organized also the COP27, and we are more aware of the challenges of adapting tourism to a low-carbon economy. It's not only a personal concern. It doesn't rely only on each teacher's self-conscience. New rules have been built and new expectations arose from our students themselves. So we have seen from 2018 and still this year during graduation ceremonies of main French engineering and high schools, but also in many countries, several students stood for expressing that they didn't want to be part of certain activities and wanted to direct their skills to jobs, sectors that meant more to them in relation with a new conception of their relation to the world. Our students express these concerns in various ways by the choice of their thesis subjects. More and more they want to do researches, internships in sustainable tourism. And so I think that the reason why more and more students don't direct themselves to tourism curriculum is that because they don't feel that maybe we have a comprehensive conception of the challenges that we are facing. So we have to take into account this urge to adapt tourism education to contemporary tourism. It's not only about having one class dedicated to sustainable tourism, but to rethink the conceptualization of our diplomas and academic courses more globally. So this is our responsibility, but also the best way to meet our students' expectations. Voilà, bon, en quelques mots. So it means also integrating the pluralization of tourism and hospitality, which was rendered visible by the COVID parenthesis. To our point of view, the COVID was a kind of eclipse in a literal sense, a phenomena that by occulting something, international tourism, make another phenomena visible. Second challenge, we learn to teach online, of course. We are there online and with you in presence, integrating new technologies, pedagogical devices and principles, but we are facing the same challenges of the MICE sector. Teaching online cannot be reduced to saying the same content in front of the screen. Some students were depressed, we lost interactivity. On the contrary, it may open new possibilities of interacting with new audiences, especially professionals. So we have to incorporate this experience to new educational programs, not to replace what we did before COVID. And this is in line with our third challenge to develop professional education towards new people, to adapt more to the singularity of the students in tourism by developing continuing education, for instance. We have a reflection now with students that want to realize a PhD, for instance. For a long time in France, it's not the same in other countries. Doing a PhD was aimed only at becoming a researcher. Now there are more and more relations and crossings between research and tourism innovation and development. So we have the project to promote the skills and savoir-faire of our PhD students that want to engage in ambitious projects of tourism development, not only in research in universities. Another issue for us is networking, including with other educational structures. So here we are. We are part of various networks, among which AMFOR, but also at French scale, CFET, ASTRE, and a new network that joined several French universities around structuring projects to renew our way of teaching. Among these projects, the project of an observation of jobs and career in tourism and hospitality that will help us to redefine the contents of our teaching. Also another project in this network, digitalization of some contents to reach new audiences, and the development of qualifications aimed at continuing education. Donc nous avons là des objectifs ambitieux à moyen et long terme et que nous mènerons donc dans le cadre de ces réseaux. Je vous remercie.
Bien. Thank you so much, Professor Jacot. And here we are all around the screen and here the room where people serving the industry and serving the students. Our first client is or are the students. So I'm very happy and honored to welcome one young alumni from La Sorbonne IREST University. So Anne Robinet, would you please come and make a kind of testimony of your own experience? Please, you come to the tribe here, and we. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you. Hello. Nice to meet you, all of you. I am here as a old, young student of La Sorbonne IREST, and I wanted to share with you my experience. Because for me, my studies at La Sorbonne University maybe changed my life for the best, and really. And I think this is a duty of university to give you the keys to be independent and to go to your way, to find your way and to find meanings in what you do. And that's also what hospitality taught me. So my English is not perfect, but I try to do my best. I will speak with my art. Like, you know, hospitality is all about passion and art. So that's what I want to share you. So I finished my studies around 8 years ago. During my study, I was doing a work and teaching program, learning program at La Sorbonne, and I was working in Disneyland Paris. So I discovered the world of Disneyland, the world of dreams, and how we can deliver unforgivable moments, memories to the guest. I also learn a lot about quality of service, about engagement, motivation, training, because when I was doing my studies, I was learning about theory, and it was good to put it in practice in Disneyland Paris. So it's both of them are really good schools, trust me. Yes, and I was thinking about questioning myself about turnover, because turnover is a big, big, big issue of hotel industry, as you know, and motivation of employees. So after that, with my diploma, I decided to see if the grass were greener somewhere else. So I take a flight to New Caledonia. I think this is so far away. So in a hotel, 5-star hotel, Le Méridien, I had the opportunity to be the executive housekeeper of the hotel. So new culture, you forget mostly everything you learned, but you keep the essential, the love for the job and passion and love about, and yes, try to do something to your team, to give something to your team. It was not easy. I think I took 10 kilos in 6 months because it was really, really hard, trust me. But I did my best, and this team taught me about humility. Because even I was really young and I had a management position, it was not easy. But you don't know more than the other. You learn from the other all the time. And after that, so I did my best, and they give me the keys to become what I call a good manager. I'm not a perfect manager, trust me, but I did my best, and I do my best all the time. Then I decided to continue my travel, and I came to Tahiti, where I had the opportunity to form people, to train people, and I was working for a company, hospitality training company. So I went in many, many beautiful islands, many beautiful hotels. You can't imagine how beautiful it is. And I was teaching the employees about hospitality, about guest relation, about guest complaint, about management, hospitality skills. And it was amazing. Then I had thanks to this experience, I had the opportunity to be deputy general manager of a 4-star hotel in Tahiti. Another challenge, but I love this challenge, and I love to take time to train people and then to be operational, because it's linked. It's linked. You can't, you have to be on the field to see what's happening, to see the change, because that's what you say. The hospitality industry is changing so fast, but the issues are not from now. We know them since a long, long time, really. So now it's time to adapt ourselves, to try to give the keys to the students, to be the leader of tomorrow, the hospitality leaders of tomorrow, and to make the change that hospitality needs, really. After this experience, COVID came. Hi. And I decided to come back to France for many reasons. And I started to work with a hospitality school in international programs. And I went to Alula in Saudi Arabia to teach students, Saudi students, about hospitality. So I've been there 1 month, and I was facing new challenge, because these pupils are not, students are not the same, the one here, really. But they don't have the value of work as we do. Really, it's not the same. They don't used to work as hard as we do. But they have the welcoming attitude. They have the art. And that's all about art. So now I try to give meaning to students. I try to give, I found why I'm doing that. Hospitality taught me so many things. Hospitality taught me that every problem has a solution. Every problem has a solution, trust me. Because when you are in the operation, you're facing problems every time. So every time you find solutions. So why can't we find solution for hospitality training? We are facing new challenge, but challenges are good because we need to renew ourselves. So I think universities, as to schools, they have to give the keys to students to be independent, to love what they do. If you do things with the art, you do good things. Even if you do mistakes, you learn from the mistakes. So they have to trust themselves, to be confident. So for that, we have to give good skills. And trust me, France has really, really, really good hospitality skills, really. We have a lot of beautiful values in our countries, and that's what we have to share with the hospitality industry. So that's why we always have to work with professionals, because they are faced. When I was students, I loved when I had a professional teacher in front of me, because he was not just teaching, he was sharing his experiences, was giving me trust, you know, the willing to win. And I think if we do things with the art, if we do with good intention, we can change the world for the best. And I think that we have really important, important things to do for that. Because hospitality is beautiful, and people will always travel, always. So now we have to be more sustainable, because this is also really important. And hospitality can change. When I traveled and I was in such Iceland, I see how hospitality can change life of people. Really, they change life of people. They give meanings to, they try to do their best. They are so happy to share the culture, to share the environment. And we have to be part of this environment, because an hotel is not just an hotel. It is part of an environment. That's what we have to do.
Thank you so much. And we are very proud to have alumni like you with your potential and talent. We wish you all the good success for all your career. Thank you so much, Anne. Just one word before giving the floor to Francesco Frangialli. Just one thing is about techniques, and sometimes when you see here the wrong side of the image, in fact, it's the right side when you look at Zoom. Because I've got the screen of Zoom, and it's on the right side. And another thing, and I would like we all applaud because we have more and more people coming to join us through Zoom. So we would like to applaud, for example, Philippines. Hello, Evangeline. Hello. Yeah. Then can we give as well an applause to Turkey? Adnan. Hello, Adnan. And an applause to Ukraine. Hi, Zuri. As well as China. Yes, please. We've got, hello, Frances. Hello, Frances. How are you?
Hi, Philip. Yeah, I'm good.
Good, excellent. Yeah. As well as Spain with Ramon. ¿Qué tal, Ramon? And other people, we've got as well Italy, but other people, I don't know who they are, because it's not really names, but maybe you can help me.
Yes. And we have Evangeline Timbang from the Filipino.
Yeah, I think I mentioned her.
Okay. Thank you.
Philippines. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you to all. And during the General Assembly later, you will have time to have the microphone, but still now, if you have got a question, please use the chat. So now I'd like to give the floor to Francesco Frangialli. As you know, he's the former General Secretary and Honorary Secretary General of the UNWTO, the United Nations World Tourism Organization. Please, I would like you to applaud Mr. Frangialli, and I give him the floor now.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you, Philip, for your introduction. But first of all, I have a lot of complaints. One is that the picture is not in the good sense, so you cannot read the text. It said it is Amfort, but you may not know. Secondly, I'm going to speak both in French and English, and I was expecting to be able to put my microphone somewhere, which is not possible. Well, I'll try to solve all that, and I will do it with the as kind assistance of Martin Ferry.
Hello.
No, I have one. I have one in paper. No, this is too sophisticated. Martin will help me with the translation. I want, like Professor Sébastien Jacot did, to alternate between English and French. I think it's important we keep a multilingual organization. I am aware it has a cost, but Amfort has a French background. It has been created in France. Legally speaking, it's a French association, so to keep the French language, but also more and more, whenever possible, to have some events in Arabic, in Spanish, in Russian. You can do, Philip, what I did when I introduced the Chinese language in UNWTO. Yes. I said, Chinese will pay for that, and they did. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, my topics today is about tourism and globalization. It's a huge topic. Tourism is now a global phenomenon. There is a famous sentence from the French poet and writer Paul Valéry, which said, "The time of the finite world begins." This applies very well to tourism. The countries which remain closed to visitors could be counted on the figures of one single hand. Well, we had maybe a good news yesterday. China seems to be reopening little by little. They have alleviated some constraints. The complete exploration of the Earth has not satisfied man's appetite for investigation, the desire to discover, as Montesquieu in the old time already observed, those whose mores resemble to them and those who are distinct from them.
Le tourisme est désormais un phénomène global. S'applique au tourisme la célèbre phrase de Paul Valéry, le temps du monde fini commence. Et maintenant se comptent sur les doigts d'une main les pays qui demeurent fermés aux visiteurs venus d'ailleurs. Mais l'exploration complète de la Terre n'a pas assouvi l'appétit d'investigation des hommes, leur envie de découvrir, comme l'observait déjà Montesquieu, les mœurs de ceux qui leur ressemblent ou ne leur ressemblent pas.
By its very nature, tourism is both an expression and a factor of globalization. An expression and a factor. There are many aspects of this interdependence, because once it became global, tourism began to interact with other elements which also became global. Epidemics, climatic disorders, loss of biodiversity, transnational pollution, cross-border migration. international crime and terrorism. I won't be able to explore all of them today. You would not survive. Therefore, I won't be able to speak, for instance, of subjects like war and peace between nations. We have a friend from Ukraine. Tourism and the political regimes, tourism and the major religions. These are very, very important themes as well. And in a book that I'm going to publish in a few weeks' time, I am addressing this subject based on the experience I could have visiting some 140 countries. So I will limit my intervention today to 3 topics, 3 aspects of this globalization in relation with tourism. Tourism as a driving force of the global economy, that's one. The mobility of people through both tourism and migration. This is in the news today with this boat arriving in the harbor of Toulon. And thirdly, the lesson that to be learned for the tourism sector by a major geopolitical event, the COVID-19 epidemic.
Par sa nature même, le tourisme est tout à la fois une expression et un facteur de mondialisation. Nombreux sont les aspects de cette interdépendance, car dès lors qu'il s'est mondialisé, le tourisme a commencé à interagir avec d'autres événements qui sont eux aussi devenus globaux. Épidémies, désordres climatiques, perte de biodiversité, pollution transnationale, migration transfrontalière, criminalité internationale et terrorisme. Je ne pourrais les explorer tous aujourd'hui. Je n'aborderai pas non plus ce matin les liens entre, d'un côté, le tourisme et de l'autre, la paix et la guerre entre les nations, les régimes politiques dont elles se dotent ou encore les grandes religions. Sur la base d'expériences vécues dans les 140 pays du monde que j'ai visités, j'en traite dans un ouvrage de souvenirs à paraître dans quelques jours. Je me limiterai ici à 3 aspects. Le tourisme comme force d'entraînement de l'économie mondiale, la mobilité des hommes sur la planète par le tourisme et les migrations, les leçons pour le tourisme d'une crise géopolitique majeure, celle du Covid.
Donc, premier aspect, donc, la force d'entraînement du tourisme dans l'économie mondiale. Alors, j'ai peut-être été un tout petit peu trop académique, mais le professeur Sébastien Jacot m'en voudra pas. Le tourisme n'a plus aujourd'hui et de loin la même taille qu'en 1950. 1950, c'est la première année pour laquelle on dispose de statistiques sur le tourisme international. Le nombre d'arrivées internationales depuis 1950 a été multiplié par 20, alors que la population mondiale a simplement triplé. Simplement, c'est déjà beaucoup. Mais 20 et 3, on voit la différence du rythme de progression. Donc le tourisme est beaucoup plus important, mais ce n'est pas le seul changement fondamental. L'autre changement, c'est qu'il s'est globalisé. En 1950, les 15 premiers pays destination recevaient 87% du total des arrivées. Aujourd'hui, c'est les 15 premiers, qui ne sont pas nécessairement d'ailleurs les mêmes, reçoivent moins de la moitié du total. Ça veut dire qu'il y a une pluralité d'acteurs et de destinations, et certains d'entre vous représentent ces acteurs et ces destinations, qui sont rentrés dans le tableau. C'est, vous savez, ceux qui ont quelques souvenirs de la classe de terminale, on apprenait la physique, et on nous apprenait la loi de Mariotte. La loi de Mariotte, pas Mariotte l'hôtelier, hein, Mariotte avec un E, c'était que tout gaz occupe par nature tout l'espace qui lui est possible d'occuper. Mais il y a une sorte de loi de Mariotte du tourisme. Le tourisme va partout. Et tous les coins du monde sont occupés, même l'Antarctique est maintenant visité. Le tourisme, c'est 1,466 milliard d'arrivées et 3 325 milliards d'euros de recettes pour les seuls déplacements internationaux. J'ai pris les chiffres de 2019. On a ceux de 2020 et ceux de 2021, mais 2019, c'est la dernière année de référence avant l'épidémie de Covid. Alors, pourquoi, au-delà des chiffres, il existe une force d'entraînement?
Yes. May I interrupt you? Sorry, Francesco. First of all, the driving force of tourism in the global economy. Tourism is no longer the same size today as it was in the 1950s, the first year for which statistics are available. The number of international arrivals has been multiplied by 20, while the world population has only been multiplied by 3. But its nature has also changed for another reason. It has become globalized. In the 1950s, the top 15 destination receiving countries accounted for 87% of world arrivals. In the 2015, the top 15 countries, which are not necessarily the same that in 1950, received just over half of the total. The number of tourism stakeholders and destination has multiplied. A bit like these gazes, which expand to occupy all the volume offered to them, tourism extends all the spaces made available to it. Drawing up on my school memories, what a physician, Marriott, says, Marriott law of tourism, I can say. More than 1,400,000,000 arrivals and more than 3.3 billion euros in receipts for international travel alone. The flows that tourism generates are considerable. I'm taking data from 2019 here, the last year before COVID. But beyond the volumes in questions, two specific characteristics of tourism, which are due to its very nature, explain its remarkable driving force.
The first characteristic stems from its transversal nature. Tourism is cross-cutting. And consequently, there is a multiplier of the tourism expenditure. Let me elaborate a little bit on that, because tourism is a complicated thing. The traveler which engage himself or herself in a series of economic acts before traveling, when traveling, and after traveling, is spending money in, first of all, what we call the characteristic enterprises of the sector: hotel, restaurants, travel agent, and so on. And then he can spend also his money for other services, or even goods, purchasing of goods, with enterprises which are not part of the tourism industry, not characteristic. But spending in characteristic enterprises, it generates other spendings of intermediary services and goods in other branches of the economy. This is what is called the multiplier effect. Just like a stone thrown into water generates circular waves which become amplified, and initial tourism expenditure creates streams of receipts and expenditures when it widens throughout the economy and beyond the economy throughout the society. It is this central fact, the tourism expenditure multiplier, that explain the driving force of tourism in the global economy.
La première caractéristique provient de son caractère transversal et par voie de conséquence de l'effet multiplicateur de la dépense touristique. Le tourisme, en effet, est chose compliquée. Le voyageur qui se déplace se livre à une série d'actes économiques avant, pendant, voire après son séjour. Sur place, il effectue des dépenses dans diverses entreprises dites caractéristiques de l'industrie touristique, agences de voyage, hôtels, restaurants, mais se porte aussi acquéreur de biens et services produits par d'autres branches de l'économie. Les dépenses effectuées dans une entreprise caractéristique de l'industrie touristique réceptive entraînent à leur tour, par différents canaux, la création de flux additionnels de rémunération et de consommations intermédiaires au profit des diverses branches de l'économie tout entière. Comme une pierre lancée dans l'eau génère des ondes circulaires successives qui vont en s'amplifiant, une dépense touristique initiale crée des flux de recettes et des dépenses allant en s'élargissant dans toute l'économie et par-delà dans toute la société. Dans cette donnée centrale, l'effet multiplicateur de la dépense touristique, c'est ce qui explique la force motrice du tourisme dans l'économie mondiale.
My good friend Geoffrey LIPMAN, who will make an intervention just after us, used to describe this with two words: linkages and leakages. Linkages between tourism and the other branches of the economy, and leakages, the fact that all the money does not remain within the economy. J'explique ça en français. L'effet multiplicateur de la dépense touristique n'est pas infini. Il y a des fuites dans le système. Et cet effet multiplicateur est profondément dépendant du niveau de l'importance, mais surtout du niveau de diversification de l'économie. C'est ce qui limite, notamment, le jeu du multiplicateur dans les économies en développement. Alors ça peut prendre diverses formes. Les importations induites par le développement touristique, les contrats déséquilibrés dont se plaignent généralement nos amis du Maghreb, par exemple, entre les gros tours opérateurs et les hôteliers récepteurs. Les salaires versés aux cadres internationaux, les expatriés, le rapatriement des bénéfices au lieu de leur réinvestissement sur place. Tout ceci sont des formes de fuite. Prenons un exemple pour illustrer le propos. Si je m'en vais séjourner dans un pays que j'aime bien, qui est le Sénégal, si je vais dans un hôtel de top class à Sali, ou si je séjourne à l'hôtel Méridien de Dakar, je vais dépenser beaucoup chaque jour. Mais une bonne partie de ce que je vais dépenser, pour les raisons que je viens d'énumérer, générera des fuites et ne restera pas dans l'économie du Sénégal. Si je vais séjourner dans un petit village, un accueil chez l'habitant, comme il y en a de plus en plus en Afrique subsaharienne, là où il n'y a pas de terrorisme, je dépenserai moins quotidiennement. Mais ce que je vais dépenser va rester davantage dans l'économie locale parce que les fuites, ceux-là, seront plus faibles. Donc on touche là l'effet d'entraînement du tourisme et sa limite principale dans une économie désormais mondialisée. Dernier exemple, puis je repasse la parole à Martine, un autre pays qui est assez agréable si vous voulez prendre un peu de soleil et une mer chaude, ce sont les îles Maldives. Il y a une centaine d'îles. Ce pays, cette destination reçoit maintenant 1 700 000 visiteurs par an. Grâce au tourisme, les Maldives sont sortis de la liste des 48 pays les moins avancés du monde. Donc c'était un des pays les plus pauvres. Il n'est plus dans la liste des pays les plus pauvres. Grâce à quoi? Grâce au tourisme. Mais l'effet serait beaucoup plus fort si tout ce que vous consommez, tout ce que les hôtels qui vous accueillent aux Maldives consomment, n'était pas importé, et si la main-d'œuvre employée ne venait pas du Pakistan, du Bangladesh, de l'Inde. C'est là qu'on voit la nature de l'effet d'entraînement du tourisme, très positif, mais en même temps ses limites.
However, the multiplication effect of tourism expenditure is not infinite. On an international scale, it is deeply dependent on the level of development and, above all, on the degree of diversification of the economy of the country visited. It is the second characteristic. These leakages, that is to say, the part of the tourist expenditure which escapes and in doing so reduces the positive impact on the local economy, take various forms. Induced exports, unbalanced contract between the tour operators in the north and the hotelier in the south, royalties of various kinds paid to external economic agents and in particular to multinational companies, salaries paid to expatriates, repatriation of profits preferred to local reinvestment of profits generated. The traveler who goes to Senegal, and it was the case of Francesco, and stays in a top-class hotel in Sali or in the Méridien in Dakar, the most luxurious in the country, will spend large sums of money there every day. This spending will, of course, create wealth and jobs. But for the reason just stated, a significant part of this revenue will not remain in the country's economy. The traveler who, on the contrary, prefer modest accommodation with the local will spend much less on a daily basis, but the bulk of its contribution will remain in the village community which welcomed him. We are touching here on the main limit of the ripple effect of tourism in a largely globalized economy, especially with regard to the development of the poorest country, with insufficiently diversified economies. Despite this, tourism sometimes allows what was thought to be unfeasible. A country like the Maldives has dropped out from the list of the 48 poorest, the least developed countries, thanks to tourism. Moreover, the net benefit for the economy from the 1.7 million tourists that the archipelago received in the 100 or so islands open to tourism would be much greater still if the bulk of the investment, good and intermediate consumption were not imported there, and if the country was not obliged to resort to labor from elsewhere.
I conclude on this first point. Tourism is a powerful economic force on global level. It plays a major role in foreign trade and balance of payments. If we include revenue from air passenger traffic, it is, depending on the year, the third or fourth largest export in the world after fuels, chemicals, and some years food products, but more, for instance, than export of cars. If we add to the expenditure made by the tourist abroad the purchase of air tickets, tourism has represented in 2019 a quarter of world export of services and 7% of the total of exports worldwide.
Le tourisme est une force économique puissante à l'échelle mondiale. Il joue un rôle majeur dans les échanges extérieurs et les balances des paiements. Si on inclut les revenus du trafic aérien de passagers, c'est, selon les années, la 3e ou 4e exportation mondiale, après les combustibles, les produits chimiques et certaines années les produits alimentaires, mais devant les exportations d'automobiles. Si on ajoute aux dépenses effectuées par les visiteurs étrangers les achats de billets d'avion, les recettes d'ensemble du tourisme mondial représentaient en 2019 le quart des exportations mondiales de services et 7% des exportations totales de biens et services.
Mesdames et Messieurs, j'en viens à mon deuxième thème. Comme je disais, est d'une actualité certaine et même à certains égards pénible. C'est la relation entre le tourisme et les migrations internationales. Pour une large part aujourd'hui, l'humanité est connectée et, dans une certaine mesure, elle est aussi mobile. La crise du Covid, d'ailleurs, ayant accentué le premier aspect au détriment du second, c'est pour ça que Philippe François constate qu'on a moins de participants que la dernière fois. Davantage connectés, moins mobiles. La mobilité de la communauté mondialisée des hommes, elle naît du tourisme et des migrations. Il y a des symboles étranges, n'est-ce pas? Les deux phénomènes se télescopent parfois. Quand, par exemple, il y a 2-3 ans sur l'île de Kos en Grèce, des migrants qui venaient de la côte turque toute proche ont débarqué comme ça au milieu des transats des gens qui, sur leur chaise longue, étaient en train de prendre le soleil et qui ont demandé ce qui se passait. Quand vous avez des migrants afghans, notamment, qui essaient de partir pour l'Angleterre, où ils ont des attaches, ils pensent qu'ils parlent un peu la langue, à Calais, ils empêchent de passer l'Eurostar, dans lequel il y a des passagers qui vont aussi en Angleterre. Ce sont des phénomènes qui se télescopent et qui montrent la complexité du monde mobile dans lequel nous vivons.
Second point, tourism and migration. Much of today's humanity is connected and mobile, with the COVID pandemic having favored the first dimension over the second. The mobility of the globalized human community stems from tourism and migration. A strange symbol of the shortened world in which we live, the two phenomena sometimes collide when, for instance, the two groups cross paths, as in the Greek island of Kos in the Dodecanese archipelago, where illegal immigrants from nearby Turkey land in the middle of sun lounger for vacationers lounging on the beach. Or like in Calais, when passengers on the Eurostar to England are blocked by migrants trying to slip in.
Un tout petit mot de définition statistique basée sur la recommandation de 2008 des Nations Unies. Un touriste n'est pas un migrant, statistiquement. Un migrant n'est pas un touriste. La chose qu'ils ont en commun, c'est qu'ils quittent ce qu'on appelle leur environnement habituel, là où ils ont leur attache, leur vie, leur famille, Bon. Et s'ils le font pour s'établir ailleurs, ils sont des migrants. S'ils le font pour autre chose, ce sont des touristes. Si on s'en va de son domicile pour une raison professionnelle, de son environnement habituel pour des raisons professionnelles, et qu'on y revient, on est un touriste d'affaires, on n'est pas un migrant. Si un migrant revient de l'endroit où il s'est établi, par exemple pour revoir sa famille qui est restée au pays, il est un touriste. Quelquefois, nos amis du Maghreb ont un petit peu de difficulté avec ces statistiques. Mais c'est ça les définitions. Donc il n'y a pas, au niveau des concepts, la moindre ambiguïté. Mais après avoir dit ça, c'est pas si simple. Parce que, par exemple, certains migrants, j'ai été juge pendant 6 ans à la Cour nationale du droit d'asile, migrants qui sont venus en France comme touristes, comme étudiants, pas à l'IREST, mais ailleurs, et qui ensuite ont triché et sont restés sur le territoire national. Donc les définitions statistiques sont claires. Dans la pratique, il y a quelquefois un petit peu plus de difficulté à cerner les choses.
Statistically, a tourist is not a migrant, and a migrant is not a tourist. According to the definition adopted by the United Nations Statistical Commission, when one changes usual environment and settles elsewhere in particular to work there, or he or she is a migrant. On the other hand, when one moves outside one's usual environment for professional reasons without settling there and then returns to one's country of residence, he or she is a business tourist. When a migrant returns to visit his family back home, he or she is also, statistically speaking, a tourist. There is therefore no ambiguity at that conceptual level, but it is quite obvious that in practice, the statistical measurement of flows is often not simple, starting with the existence of false tourists who abuse this quality to settle elsewhere.
280 million migrants were living in a country other than their own in 2020. 280 million. They represent 3.6% of the world population. This proportion has increased in the recent decades, but sometime in the history, it has been much higher. Prior to the First World War, the proportion was some 10% of the world population. When economic and social situation was so difficult in Eastern Europe or in Ireland, or south of Italy, people were migrating to the Americas. with all due respect to former President Donald Trump, despite the influx of migrants from Latin America, the proportion of immigrants in the population of the United States is lower today than it was in 1913. Migration is not only the movement of men and women from the countries of the South, poor countries, sometimes countries at war, towards those of the North, supposed to be rich and in peace, not always in peace. Only 60% of migrants have settled in the most developed regions of the world. Only 1 out of 3 migrants leaves a developing country, only 1 to 3rd, to reach a developed country.
280 millions de migrants habitaient dans un autre pays que le leur en 2020. Ils représentaient 3,6% de la population mondiale. Cette proportion s'est accrue dans les dernières décennies, mais elle a bien été plus élevée à d'autres périodes de l'histoire. Avant la Première Guerre mondiale, les migrants fuyant la pauvreté, les famines et les guerres de l'Europe représentaient environ 10% de la population mondiale. N'en déplaise à Trump, malgré l'afflux des migrants d'Amérique latine, la proportion d'immigrés dans les populations des États-Unis est inférieure aujourd'hui à ce qu'elle était en 1913. La migration n'est pas que le mouvement des hommes venus des pays du Sud, pauvres et parfois en guerre, vers ceux du Nord, riches et en paix, ou supposés l'être. Seuls 60% des migrants se sont établis dans les régions du monde les plus développées. Un migrant sur 3 seulement part d'un pays en développement pour rejoindre un pays développé.
This thirst for movement of humanity in perpetual motion has, as you know, its tragic side. According to the United Nations and the Organization for Migration, 3,200 migrants died in 2021 in the Mediterranean, out of the 120,000 which crossed the sea. If you look at the tragic event, like the one of November 13, 2015 in Paris, you will see that those the perpetrators of this crime have been traveling through all Europe and were coming from outside Europe. And if you look at the victims, they came from 18 different countries. This is today one aspect of globalization.
Cette soif de développement d'une humanité en mouvement perpétuel a ses côtés tragiques. Selon l'Organisation des Nations Unies et celle des migrations, 3200 migrants ont trouvé la mort en 2021 en Méditerranée sur les 120 000 qui l'ont traversée. Les tragiques attentats terroristes du 13 novembre 2015 à Paris sont, dans leur horreur même, révélateurs de certains traits caractéristiques de notre société mondialisée. Plusieurs des auteurs de ces assassinats avaient transité par divers pays du Proche-Orient, des Balkans et de l'Union européenne. Leurs victimes étaient originaires de 18 pays différents.
Les migrations et le tourisme sont de plus en plus imbriqués. On est en présence d'ordre de grandeur un peu comparable. Les 280 millions d'expatriés dont je parlais tout à l'heure ont renvoyé dans leur pays, en 2021, 620 milliards de dollars. Et les 2 tiers de cette somme vers les pays en développement. C'est 2 ou 3 fois moins que le tourisme, mais c'est des ordres de grandeur qui se comparent. Et certains pays, le Mexique, le Maroc, la Tunisie, la Turquie, l'Égypte, bénéficient des deux sources, des rapatriements d'argent de leurs expatriés et des recettes du tourisme. Le montant de ce qu'on appelle ces remittances, c'est le mot anglais pour ces transferts d'argent des migrants, a doublé en 5 ans. Autre aspect de cette interrelation, Lorsque vous avez une communauté qui s'installe dans un autre pays, soit qui s'est installée il y a longtemps, par exemple les Espagnols ou les Portugais en Amérique latine, soit qui s'est installée récemment, ça génère dans un second temps des flux touristiques de ce qu'on appelle quelquefois le tourisme ethnique ou affinity tourism. On revient voir la terre de ses ancêtres, ou on vient voir des cousins, des copains qui sont restés au pays. Donc les deux phénomènes s'enchaînent l'un l'autre et se génèrent l'un l'autre.
My statement may come as a surprise, but in my opinion, the two phenomena of tourism and migration are largely part of the very deep motivation among many of our...
Non, Martine,
Yes?
tu vas plus vite que la musique.
Oh, yes, but we can. Yes, migration et tourisme sont de plus en plus imbriqués. On est en présence de deux phénomènes dont les ordres de grandeur peuvent être comparés. Les 280 millions d'expatriés ont renvoyé dans leur pays d'origine 620 milliards de dollars en 2021. Les deux tiers
Martine,
vers des...
Je t'interromps encore. Je l'ai fait en français, ça. Donc
Ah, pardon. I want to speed up the process, you know. I want to speed up a little bit because it is so interesting, and you will have the full text in both in French later on. So if you want to proceed, and I will come back. I will come back on everything.
I'll make it in English as well. I just say that migration and tourism are really connected.
Yes.
They are connected. One aspect is that the 280 millions of people living abroad, expatriated, they send to their country what we call remittances, as high of $620 billion in 2021. And countries like Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, Mexico, and many others, they benefit from both the remittances and the expenditure of the foreign tourist. Another aspect of this interdependence, interrelation, is the affinity tourism or ethnic tourism. A community abroad generates in a second time, in a later time, a flow of visitors that want to see the land of their ancestors or to meet with their friends and relatives who have migrated. Mon affirmation, l'affirmation qui va suivre, pourra peut-être vous surprendre, mais à mon avis, les deux phénomènes de tourisme et de migration participent pour une large part de la même motivation chez beaucoup de nos contemporains, celle de la curiosité, du goût pour la découverte, le dépaysement, voire l'aventure. Beaucoup de migrants ne partent pas, ou ne partent pas seulement parce qu'ils sont chassés par la guerre, la famine ou une détérioration brutale de leur cadre de vie. On est dans ce village global dont parlait déjà il y a bien longtemps McLuhan. Hier, la télévision, et encore la télévision aujourd'hui, l'Internet maintenant ouvre aux nomades en puissance de nombreux et nouveaux horizons. L'étudiant américain qui va partir découvrir la Chine, ou le jeune malien qui veut venir travailler en Europe, ils n'ont pas grand-chose en commun quant à leur histoire personnelle, leur background, leurs références. Mais ils ont l'un et l'autre soif de découvrir autre chose, d'autres gens, d'autres horizons, des prairies où l'herbe est plus verte que là où ils habitaient. Il n'est pas exceptionnel dans le monde d'aujourd'hui que l'on parte comme étudiant ou comme touriste, pas du tout avec la volonté de s'établir, puisque finalement on rencontre un lieu où on se plaît, où on rencontre une personne avec qui on veut rester. Je crois que pour le titre de plus grande agence matrimoniale du monde, sont en compétition le programme européen Erasmus et les Journées mondiales de la jeunesse de l'Église catholique. C'est là où on se rend compte, même maintenant aujourd'hui, l'amour est devenu globalisé.
So my statement may come as a surprise, but in my opinion, the two phenomena of tourism and migration are largely part of a very deep motivation among many of our contemporaries, that of curiosity, a taste for discovery, for a change of scenery, and even for adventure. Many migrants do not live simply or do not live at all because they are driven out by war, famine, persecution, or the brutal alteration of their living environment. There is another explanation. In the global village of which McLuhan spoke to us, television yesterday, the internet today, opened up many horizons to the potential nomad. The American student who lives to discover China, or the young Malian who tries his luck in Europe, probably do not have much in common, whether in terms of their cultural field or their way of life, but they are both keen to meet elsewhere other people or other horizons, other meadows, where at least they think the grass will be greener. It is not exceptional in today's world that one lives as a student or as a tourist without any desire to expatriate, and that in the end of he or she decided to do so. Having encountered elsewhere the place or the person that, without knowing it, he or she was looking for. The European Erasmus program is in competition with the World Youth of Days of the Catholic Church for the title of first marriage agency in the world. Even love, in these strange times we lived in, is going global.
Let me conclude on this second point. Tourism abhors finicky controls, walls, and bare-bird wire fences. And these obstacles may result from the desire to stop illegal immigration. We saw that in 2015, when the conflict in Syria and Iraq, as a result of sending to Europe 1.5 million of migrants. And this has generated, sparked growing apprehension and phenomena of rejection. And some political parties are making their business with this phenomena of rejection. We saw that recently in Sweden, in Italy, and elsewhere. The danger is that when you want to stop illegal immigration, government put some barriers to this immigration, but at the same time, it affects tourism. You want to stop immigration, and you stop tourism. Maybe one of the worst examples was the travel ban, it was called like that, decided in 2017 by President Donald Trump to stop terrorism from Muslim countries. It prevented people from these countries to visit the United States. Or we see that today when Russian people cannot travel to North America or to Western Europe. I am not sure that it prevents the Tsar of the Kremlin from sleeping.
Le tourisme a horreur des contrôles tatillons, des murs et des clôtures en fil de fer barbelé. Or, ceux-ci peuvent résulter de la volonté d'arrêter l'immigration illégale. Comme la vague migratoire sans précédent de l'année 2015, entraînant vers l'Europe ceux qui fuyaient les conflits de la Syrie et de l'Irak l'a montré, l'immigration, lorsqu'elle prend un caractère incontrôlé, suscite des appréhensions croissantes et des phénomènes de rejet dans les pays de destination sur lesquels des partis politiques bâtissent leur fonds de commerce électoral. Des barrières physiques ou juridiques de plus en plus sévères sont mises à ces mouvements migratoires. Il faut cependant éviter qu'on se trompe de cible et qu'en visant l'une, l'immigration illégale, on atteigne l'autre, le tourisme transfrontalier. L'exemple le plus achevé d'un obstacle mis aux voyageurs pour des raisons supposées de sécurité est certainement le travel ban décidée en 2017 par le président Donald Trump, interdisant l'accès au territoire américain aux ressortissants de 7 pays musulmans considérés présentant des risques. L'actuelle administration américaine l'a levée, mais, comme le montrent les élections de mardi, la tentation est toujours là, sous-jacente. Au titre des sanctions pesant sur leur pays, les voyageurs russes n'ont plus accès aux destinations de l'Amérique du Nord, de l'Union européenne et d'une partie de l'Asie du Nord-Est. Ce n'est pourtant pas cela qui empêchera de dormir le tsar du Kremlin.
J'en viens parce que je vois que Philippe François s'impatiente à mon troisième et dernier point, qui est la crise sanitaire globale dont nous sortons à peine et qui nous convie à davantage de durabilité pour le tourisme international. En décembre 2004, le tourisme international a vécu sa pire crise. La pire crise par le nombre de morts touristes. Ce fut le 26 décembre, le tsunami qui a provoqué non seulement 200 000 morts dans la province d'Aceh au nord de Sumatra, mais également 3 000 morts à Phuket et dans la côte Andaman et d'autres ailleurs. Nous avions tenu une réunion exceptionnelle de nos conseils exécutifs, qui je crois avait été assez appréciée, et le Premier ministre de Thaïlande de l'époque, Thaksin Shinawatra, m'avait appris à cette occasion, parce qu'il est d'origine chinoise, le mot Weiji. Je suis sûr que Martine le connaît par cœur maintenant, après tant d'années à Shanghai. Le mot Weiji veut dire crise. Et l'idéogramme crise en chinois, il a un double sens. C'est un désastre, mais c'est une opportunité. Et effectivement, lorsque vous avez une crise, vous avez souvent le double aspect, le désastre et l'opportunité. Alors le désastre pour du Covid, il est énorme. Ça a touché de plein fouet l'économie touristique mondiale, de manière bien plus importante que la crise précédente qui avait été celle en 2008 des subprimes. Avec le Covid, le volume des arrivées a été divisé par 3, passant du 1,466 milliard que j'ai cité tout à l'heure à environ 400 millions de touristes en 2020 et 2021. Mais une opportunité aussi. La crise, nous dit l'OCDE, c'est l'occasion de forger une économie plus forte, plus durable et plus résistante. Antonio Guterres, le secrétaire général des Nations Unies, nous dit « Il est impératif que nous reconstruisions le secteur du tourisme d'une manière sûre, équitable et respectueuse du climat. »
Third point, the COVID-19 crisis invites us to more sustainability in international tourism. On the occasion of what, by the number of travelers who lost their lives in the greatest tragedy in the history of the world tourism, the tsunami of December 26, 2004, I learned from the Prime Minister of Thailand, Thaksin Shinawatra, the meaning of the Chinese ideogram Weiji, which means crisis. It is twofold. A crisis is both a disaster and an opportunity. The COVID crisis, from which we are just emerging, and of which tourism has been both the vector and the victim, is an example of this. A disaster first. Much more than SARS in 2002, the COVID pandemic has hit world tourism hard, and especially some of its components: air transport, business and convention tourism, cruise, and the winter sports industry. The volume of international arrivals has been divided by 3, from 1.4 billion in 2019 to 400 million in 2020 and 446 in 2021. It was the most serious drop in the history in our activity, far beyond the effect of the 2008 financial crisis. A disaster, but only probably an opportunity too. For the OECD, the COVID crisis constitutes an opportunity to rethink tourism for the future, to forge a stronger, more sustainable and more resilient tourism economy. The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, declared from his part that in as early as 2020, it is imperative that we rebuild the tourism sector in a safe, fair, and climate-friendly way.
Regardons un petit peu ce qui s'est passé avec le Covid pendant l'année 2020 et l'année 2021. Les destinations qui ont été les plus touchées par cette crise sanitaire sans précédent étaient celles qui étaient fortement dépendantes d'un produit unique et vulnérable ou d'une seule destination. Certaines îles de la Caraïbe ont fait conscience qu'elles ne pouvaient plus continuer à vivre uniquement en accueillant des bateaux de croisière avec 3 000, 4 000, 5 000, 7 000 cabines. Ah oui, c'est mieux avec le micro. C'est surtout mieux avec le micro pour ceux qui nous écoutent sur Zoom et sur WTM. Donc, je le redis que les destinations qui dépendaient d'un seul produit ou d'un seul marché ont été plus affectées que les autres. Et on le voit avec les îles de la Caraïbe qui dépendent uniquement des grands bateaux de croisière. La ville de Venise s'en est aperçue déjà et elle commence à le savoir. On ne peut plus continuer comme ça à dépendre de ces masses de tourisme arrivant sur des bateaux de croisière. Dans une forme de tourisme que je connais bien, dans les Alpes, les stations de ski ont été touchées de manière différenciée. Celles qui dépendaient uniquement du ski, du tout ski, celles généralement de haute altitude, ont été touchées de plein fouet, puisque les remontées mécaniques ont été fermées par les autorités publiques pour des raisons sanitaires dans certains pays, pas partout. Alors que les villages de moyenne montagne, aux produits touristiques plus diversifiés, pouvant accueillir aussi l'été, ont été moins affectés par l'effet de la pandémie. Alors ceci nous donne une orientation pour l'avenir. Il faut cesser de se reposer uniquement sur le tout-ski. Il eut son heure de gloire, il ne va pas disparaître d'un instant, mais il faut progressivement bâtir une économie touristique montagnarde plus diversifiée autour d'une gamme de produits de tourisme sportif, de tourisme culturel, de tourisme de santé, d'écotourisme. Ils en ont le potentiel, mais cela demande une révolution culturelle dans les esprits.
Among those the most affected by this unprecedented health crisis are destinations heavily dependent on a unique and vulnerable tourism product. Some Caribbean islands realized that they could not continue to live solely from the stopover of visitors, the mega cruises ships. An iconic destination like Venice has begun to share the same awareness. In the Alps, the high altitude resorts whose lift and cable cars had to be closed, felt the inconvenience of being exclusively devoted to the practice of alpine skiing, while the medium-altitude villages resisted rather well. They must stop being resorts dominated by old skiing policy. With the change in the climate, they were already beginning to become aware of this necessity. Around the snow activities that will remain, they must learn and deploy a wide range of sports, leisure, cultural, and health tourism activities throughout the year. Diversification must be accompanied by flexibility.
Ça, je ne l'ai pas encore dit.
That's a nice conclusion. Both are the guarantee to be safe.
Absolument. Faced with a sudden change in the international panorama, you have to know how to turn to another market if a usual one suddenly closes, starting by looking at your internal market, which has been the key of limiting the impact in 2020-2021 in a country like France. To gain flexibility, it's necessary to be able to respond through training, this is for Amfort, and digitization, through the reorientation of promotional action, In order to be able to accommodate successive or simultaneous presence of customers from different countries and with their unequal purchasing power, their different languages, habits, and tastes. In summary, the demand for sustainability resulting from this terrible pandemic meets the need to act in the face of the gigantic challenge of climate change. La leçon de cette pandémie, celle qu'on doit aller vers un tourisme plus durable, rejoint la même leçon qui fait qu'on a besoin de s'adapter au changement climatique. I will not further elaborate on climate change. This will be done in a few seconds by my old friend Geoffrey LIPMAN, speaking from Sharm el-Sheikh, where takes place the COP27.
À la diversification doit s'adjoindre la flexibilité. Toutes deux sont garanties de sécurité. Face à un changement brutal du panorama international, il faut savoir se tourner vers un autre marché si un marché habituel se ferme, en commençant par s'adresser à son propre marché intérieur. Pour gagner en flexibilité, il faut pouvoir répondre par la formation et la numérisation et la réorientation des actions de promotion à la présence simultanée ou successive de clients de différents pays, à leur pouvoir d'achat inégaux, leur langue, leurs habitudes et leurs goûts différents. En résumé, l'exigence de durabilité résultant de cette terrible pandémie rejoint la nécessité d'agir face aux gigantesques défis du changement climatique. Je n'en traiterai pas davantage, laissant à Geoffrey LIPMAN le soin de l'évoquer depuis Sharm el-Sheikh où se tient la COP27. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. And a special thanks to Martin, because it was very difficult for her.
Martin, who is a member of AMFOT and in charge of academic affairs at the École de Management de Lyon. Thank you so much. Yes, I've got to apologize, Geoffrey LIPMAN. Geoffrey LIPMAN was supposed to be with us today, and but unfortunately is still talking and negotiating in Sharm el-Sheikh for COP27. So I'd like, just obviously you know him, at least the name, Professor Geoffrey LIPMAN is formerly executive director of IATA, and he was the first president of WTTC, the World Travel and Tourism Council, and he was assistant general secretary of UNWTO, and currently is president of Sun Malta, the strong universal network, as is envoy for sustainable tourism global center and leading the TPCC, the Touring Panel on Climate Change. So thank you, Xavier. To put on the video that Geoffrey just sent us yesterday.
I want to thank AMPORT for inviting me to join this panel. I want to thank AMPORT. I want to thank AMPORT for inviting me to join this panel and give my apologies for not being with you in Paris. But I'm currently at COP27 launching the TPCC, Tourism Panel on Climate Change, an IPCC for tourism to provide objective metrics for smart action. I want to use this occasion firstly to pay tribute to my old friend and former colleague, Francesco Francesco, who was the first person in the tourism world to spot the existential impact of climate change and to start action on it when he was Secretary General at UNWTO and launched the first public discussion in Jerba in 2003 and again on a large scale in Davos in 2007. I was privileged to work with Francesco and to support his initiatives. I have 3 points to contribute today. First, existential is not just another word. It means if we don't hit Paris 1.5 in 2050 as a society, your grandkids and mine will freeze or fry, dependent on where they live in the world. Second point, IPCC says we have to peak greenhouse gas emissions by 2025, cut them almost in half by 2030, and get to net zero by 2050 to do it. The 2050 message is fatally ignored by tourism. Third point, well-publicized declarations are what Greta Thunberg called blah, blah, blah. We need actions now, millions of them around the world, for our locally integrated socio-economic sector. And by locally, I mean global policies and concepts and agreements played out at the local level. And we need those actions starting now. Why do I say millions of actions? Because our world is made up of hugely complex national and subnational entities. That the information that we get on the metaverse probably masks because it has to be simple and condensed and easily given. So let me say, there is no magic solution to the code red climate crisis. There are no global pathways. There are just clever publicists pretending there are. Progress will be messy. It will vary from community to community and from company to company. Some will shoot forward and some will slow down. But make no mistake, everyone has to be in for 2050. This is a multi-decade journey, and everyone has to start now because we've almost run out of time. I want to close by referencing two actions that I'm personally involved in and where we would love to collaborate with AMFORT and right-minded organizations. First, at SunX Malta, the NGO that I run with support from the government of Malta as a legacy to my old friend Maurice Strong. It's the Strong Universal Network. We're trying to build a culture of climate-friendly travel, linking everything in travel and tourism to Paris 1.5 and whichever of the 17 SDGs people in that community or that company commit to. We provide a place to register climate and sustainability action plans, a diploma to train young national leaders, and a support system for companies and communities. It's mostly all free. Why not help us to bring this to the Francophone world? We're currently cooperating with the European Travel Commission, and we're starting pilot projects. Why couldn't we start one in Paris, in France, which has been a leader in this whole global climate response initiative? Not just with the Paris Declaration and climate agreement, but in a whole range of sustainability actions over many, many years. And the second and final point, as I mentioned, here in Sharm, as an envoy for the Saudi Sustainable Tourism Global Center, we launched yesterday a new TPCC. Remember those letters, TPCC, Tourism Panel on Climate Change, an independent science-based body inspired by the IPCC and created in 1988 by Maurice Strong to give neutral, objective data for climate and sustainability policymakers. It has done incredible work to help focus attention on the important challenges and opportunities in this area over the past 3 decades. And we are trying, a small group of academics and climate scientists. We have more than 60 tourism climate experts from 30 countries with an initial 3-year work program to stocktake and to deliver a code-red science assessment of the interactions between tourism, climate impacts, and responsive policies. I'm very excited about this initiative because whilst there's literally hundreds of studies of different aspects of the interaction with climate change and tourism, there's not really any objective, neutral, science-based approach without either advocacy or coming from some specific location or another. We look to work with AMFORT as we advance this program and help make the world a better place for our kids. Thank you very much.
Yes, my dear Geoffrey and dear Professor, you asked me, as President of AMFORT, you asked me this question. I'll tell you, yes, we can. So now this afternoon we are going to change a little bit our government in AMFORT, and I'm sure that the new president will be very happy to continue discussion with you, dear Geoffrey, on yes, we can make an effort, we can change the world with AMFORT. Professor Jacot, maybe any comment on Mr. Frangialli or Mr. Lipman comments, and you have your own ideas, perhaps.
Okay. Merci beaucoup. Merci pour ces deux communications et présentations très inspirantes. Next to that, I understood that we had 2 languages today, so. But I will go on in English, and after that I will switch another time to French. You said yes we can. I think yes they can, because we are in charge also to transmit all these ideas, these principles to students, and it was very interesting to hear you also, because we see that independency, you spoke about that, it's very key, and this is an issue for us, not to say you have to do that, but to give them the tools, the concepts, in order to also invent new ways of developing tourism. I also really appreciated the relations that you made between tourism and migration, and it was very inspiring to sing them together and to see them as motivated by the same impulse to discover the world. And I think we also can have this parallel between what you presented as the economic impact of tourism and the economic impact of migrations, with 2 reverse dimensions. So thank you very much for that. We were colleagues for some years in IRES, Paris Importance 1, but I didn't know this part of your life about being a judge concerning asylum affairs. So we see that this diversity of experiences really is an enrichment of tourism and the comprehension of tourism. We have to integrate it to more social dimensions and not to analyze it as a specific sector. So I understood that we have a few minutes now for some questions and remarks from the audience online or there, in French or in English.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Moaz Qasem. I am Vice President of Hanford. Just in few words, there are some voices that call for a COP specific to tourism. So perhaps it is a good idea to mitigate climate change impacts that are looking very important today.
Anybody on the chat? No? Last word, perhaps, Francesco Francesco, maybe?
Sur le changement climatique, Geoffrey nous a parlé peut-être plus des mécanismes que de la substance. Mais il ne pouvait pas tout dire hein, en une courte intervention comme celle-là. C'est effectivement dans votre pays, lorsque nous avons commencé à traiter le sujet en 2003, puis à Davos, puis je suis allé à la COP 16 à Bali présenter nos conclusions. Le tourisme contribue au changement climatique. À l'époque, nos estimations, celles que nous avons présentées aux Nations Unies, étaient de l'ordre de 4-8% à 5% des émissions de gaz à effet de serre. La moitié environ venant du transport aérien et le reste, le reste du reste, notamment du secteur de l'hospitalité. Le tourisme contribue, mais le tourisme est victime. C'est un peu comme pour le Covid. Certains de ces compartiments sont particulièrement touchés. J'ai fait référence à l'industrie des sports d'hiver. C'est la plus évidente, mais ce n'est pas la seule. Quand vous avez les petites îles de l'océan Indien ou du Pacifique qui voient le niveau de la mer monter et les installations emportées par les flots. Quand j'étais à Bali pour cette COP, une charmante ministre des Samoa, je crois, est venue me dire, nous, on n'émet pas de gaz à effet de serre, mais nous, on disparaît. Donc, en limitant les émissions, le tourisme contribue aussi à sa propre sauvegarde. Ça ne suffira pas. On ne peut pas tout résoudre nous-mêmes, mais il faut quand même qu'on apporte notre pierre. Alors, je voudrais dire que je suis très touché par la fidélité que Geoffrey LIPMAN exprime à l'endroit de Maurice Strong. Je ne sais pas si Maurice Strong est un nom qui vous dit quelque chose. Moi, je l'ai rencontré en 2012 à la conférence de Rio. C'est lui qui avait été le père du sommet de la Terre de 1992. C'était un intellectuel, un homme d'affaires aussi avisé, un grand financier de la communauté juive du Canada, qui est devenu l'assistant du secrétaire général des Nations Unies. Ça a été lui qui a monté le sommet de la Terre, qui a créé le PNUE, qui est à l'origine de la Convention cadre sur le changement climatique, de l'agenda 21 et de beaucoup de choses. Et Geoffrey a une fidélité filiale vis-à-vis de Maurice Strong, dont il perpétue un petit peu l'œuvre et la pensée, qui est très remarquable. L'autre chose, c'est que, comme Geoffrey l'a dit, il y a l'idée qui semble intéressante de créer un réseau d'observation sur la relation changement climatique-tourisme, sur le modèle du GIEC, de l'IPCC, Panel on Climate Change, International Panel on Climate Change, qui figurait dans la Convention cadre sur le changement climatique de de 1992 et qui est effectivement aussi également une création de Maurice Strong. Je suis membre de ce réseau et peut-être certains d'entre vous qui sont intéressés peuvent prendre contact avec Geoffrey pour s'y adjoindre. Should I make a translation in English?
Monsieur FRANGIALLI, Alupa Clark, Director General of the Hotel Association in Quebec City. So you spoke mainly about all the issues and characteristics of the present globalization, but could you just say a few words of what it means, all of this, for the hotels sector? Please. Thank you.
Philippe François made to me a bad trick, you know. In selecting this subject of tourism and globalization. It's so huge, so huge. So it was infeasible to deal with that issue, even just titles. I had published a book on that. A new one is coming, and but I am not the only one. Many people have thought about this. The way tourism contributes and live with globalization. There are many. I decided this morning to touch only 3 themes: the economic one, the impact; the second one, the mobility, interrelation between tourism and international migration; and thirdly, the major global crisis that we have experienced, the COVID crisis, which lead to the same conclusion that we have deducted from the global warming, the need to become more sustainable. But if you look at conflict, wars, if you look at other global themes like terrorism and international crime, if you look at epidemics, if you look at transnational pollution, you have many, many other subjects which are in relation with the theme of tourism and globalization. So maybe in the next forum we can address the other subject.
Thank you so much, Mr. Francesco, Mr. and Professor Jacot, for this morning sequence and session on this huge topic. You're right, my friend Francesco,
Philippe,
but it's
11:59. Yeah, excellent.
Yes, we are. So thank you so much for all. Now we are going to switch off the session up to 2 p.m.